So what we had in mind with our team is frequently create a session which goes more to the personal awareness front, to the personal development front, and a bit digging deeper in what system awareness does to us personally, rather than jumping on a big canvas and doing system mapping and looking at interconnected things. So that's a bit what today is about more the personal journey. Myself, I'm Wesley Boers, so I'm part of the System Innovation Hub. Let me share my screen for a second. Okay, so you all should be seeing my screen. It's a Miro board. Okay, I'm just going to a bit set up my Zoom here that I can see as much of you as possible. Okay, everybody seeing my Miro board? Yeah, okay, great. So as said, we're here as a System Innovation Hub from Singapore. So with me are Marissa and Anna. So they're the leaders, founders of our hub, and I'm a partner helping them out. And today I'm happy to guide you through this system awareness session. And next to Anna and Marissa, we also have Jan and Jackie helping us out. So today's landscape, a bit setting the scene. I don't think I say something new here, that we all feel that we're quite interconnected. Today's landscape, also with the Glasgow conference ongoing, we see that a lot of interconnectivity is all around us, not only on a regional aspect, but also on a global aspect. And another example on that is, for example, the UN sustainability goals. What they have done is they created 17 different goals with a lot of aspiration around that, with a lot of key intent, because these things are the key challenges for us as humanity and also as a planet. But if you look a bit deeper, it's not if you optimize one that the others are staying untouched. No, if you touch one, the others will also be touched and will be affected. So everything is interconnected. This is also, again, an invitation to all of us to say, hey, whatever we are experiencing today, these challenges, these are interconnected challenges, and maybe we need to have another way of approaching them than what we have done until today.
Wesley, sorry to interrupt. Could you make the image slightly larger, please? I think I'm having a bit of trouble seeing it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bit the interactivity on Miro. Yeah, I try to put everything on one placeholder, so I don't need to flip back and forth to a PowerPoint presentation. So I hope this is a bit more legible. Okay. So second part of that, we have a lot of challenging problems around us, interconnectivity, but also as leaders, but also as people. We need to rethink that and see that we develop the right characteristics. So as Marianne Temme said, he's an agile leader in supply chain from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. He clearly spells it out as well, is we need to rethink about our leadership because we're in a new reality. So 2020 has taught us we're interconnected. Interconnectivity gives you power, strength by numbers, strength of connectivity, but also vulnerability. And some of these qualities, I don't think they're very surprising to all of us. You need to have passion, you need to have empathy, you need to be able to connect with other people, create a rapport, create intellectual honesty, but also humility as a leader. Persistence, I think it's always been there. But one thing I want to bring a bit of focus on is a system thinker. And as a leader, you also need to develop system thinking, not only for your organization, but I think also in a personal life, it can bring serious benefits. So, as I said, today we're not going to do a lot of mapping with a lot of wicked problems, but we're going to look at it more personally. So I'm going to invite you to come aboard the Miro board. And if you can help me sharing the link in the chat, Marissa or Anna, that would be appreciated. So what I have in front of us here is a bit of an introduction exercise, and I'll wait till all of us are here. Okay. So I'll bring everybody to me. So I'm here at the intro, a bit in the center of the, oh, shouldn't have done that. In the center of the screen. Okay. So first of all, is everybody acquainted to Miro? Maybe if you can give some thumbs up to see if you're acquainted with Miro. I know if you're calling in on a mobile phone or on a tablet, it's a bit more challenging than on a desktop, but we're going to try nevertheless. So here on the left side, you'll see post-its. I think these will come in hand later on. So if you click on the fourth from the top, the sticky note, you can choose a color, and then you can create a sticky and put it somewhere. That comes later. What we can do now is I created these squares, these diamonds on the left side, and you can pick one, just pick any one you like. And the intent is we do a bit of a group system exercise, because as you can see in the middle, I have this circle, and the circle represents the field. So we'll move inside the circle. So please don't move outside the circle. Let's keep in the circle. And you pick one of these diamonds, and the first question I ask you, and it's a bit a personal exercise. We don't need to chat about that. We just see the things moving on the Miro board. And I'll bring everybody back to me. Is how engaged do you feel with system awareness? And you see in the circle on the right bottom part is system awareness. So if you feel very engaged, you can move closer. If you don't feel that engaged, maybe you go a bit further away. And what I also put in the circle is something that's holding you back. And that's something you can fill in for yourself. It could be many things. But my question is, as an opening inquiry, is how engaged do you feel at the moment with system awareness? And I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. And for the people who joined just a couple moments ago, so take a diamond on the left side and you put it into the field, so into the circle, and we'll see what the system tells us. So you can just pick up the diamond by clicking it, and then you can drag it across, and then you put it somewhere in the field. So again, how engaged do you feel with system awareness? Okay. And now we see our system is developing before our eyes. So the system we create in this Zoom chat, and I see quite some people are in the direction of system awareness. I see some are on the line between that's what's holding you back and on system awareness. So that's also an observation. And some people, but not the majority, are a bit more to, oh, it's still holding me back. Okay. So this is a first observation. And you can ask yourself the question, why are you standing where you stand and what it's like? And then you can assess what's coming to you. And this is also, again, an example about system thinking, because a lot of it comes through our body, because our body is a very important antenna with system thinking. So now I'm going to ask a second question. And based on the second question, you can move again. Stay in the field, or you stay on your position, and you just feel where you experience the best fit. And my second question is, how active are you actually working today on system awareness? So the first one was how engaged do you feel? But now my second question is, how active are you actually today in terms of system awareness? And you can then again move further away or closer to system awareness. And so we'll see how this system again represents itself. I'll give you a couple of moments. So again, the second question is, how active are you actually working now on system awareness? Okay. So I see somebody, the visiting painter, that really went to the outsides of the circle. Interesting. Okay. So you can ask yourself again, oh, when I'm standing here, why are you standing there, and how's that like? And I see more of us are now coming on this line between that's what's holding us back and the system awareness. A bit more. There's still a lot of people around system awareness, so that's great. And then the last question, the third one, again, to move and to wrap up these exercises, how engaged do you want to be regarding system awareness? So again, you can move. So the third question is, how engaged do you want to be? How active do you want to be with system awareness? Okay. And so you see, without speaking, just by observing our small system here, you again see a clear dynamic. Now we see a lot of us going towards the system. In my fantasy, I already see a bit of an arrow created with the diamonds from that's what's holding us back to the system awareness. And that's all by not speaking. So this is again an invitation. You can do this type of exercise with any topic you want if you have a group of people, and there you can ask a couple of questions like, where are you today? How much do you want to change? And how engaged are you? Like these type of examples, and then you can already get a lot of information just by looking at it and seeing what this system tries to tell us. Okay, thanks a lot for the exercise. Okay, let's move on. I'm just seeing the annotation. I'm going to clear it. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Good. So that was a bit a system exercise. Let's move back to the presentation. You can follow now on my screen. Okay. So that was a bit sensing the system. And what you feel there is for you, and see, did you feel nothing? Did you feel something? Happy to discuss that at a later stage. But for now, let's keep going. And as you might also experience, if we have challenges in front of us, if we have questions in front of us, often questions are one of specific issues. And with one of specific issues, we can use one tool which we have inside of us, which is very well trained because of the way we are educated, the way we approach things, and that's our analytical brain. Because if I ask these questions from the intro with your analytical brain, you would have approached maybe in a very different way. Now we did a bit of a sensing exercise, so this is different. So in specific issues we come across, often we use our analytical brain, which is a great tool, which has brought us a long way forward because we can really analyze things, we can dissect things, we can see what's the missing part, we can optimize it, we can put it back together and solve things and move forward. And then often you ask yourself the question, what's the goal? What's going well? What do we need? What's the next step?
Sorry, often, in a bit, please.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot again. Thanks for reminding. Yeah. Now the next one is, but I guess if you're interested in system awareness, that often we come across challenges, and like these wicked problems are clear indications of that challenges are not a one-off thing you can solve with an expert you can call in from outside. No, it's something that goes deeper. And sometimes when you come across a challenge or a problem, and you really cannot put your finger on the exact issues, or you try a different solution, then you know that you're handling a bit more a systemic challenge, not a one-off technical problem. And often when we see this happening in communities, in organization, certain patterns start occurring, like a higher turnover. There's more emotion related to it, that there's potentially some internal competition. And this all comes when a challenge is not a problem by itself, but it's just an artifact from a deeper laying problem. And that's a bit the direction we're going to take today's call. And this requires us to boost collective intelligence. And as it's shown here, I see it a bit more blurry. That's because, yeah, the internet is not great, but I hope it's clear for you. To really start building system awareness as a group, you start building collective intelligence, but that is a very fine balance you need to find between, on one hand, as you see often in groups, in organizations, a lot of people think alike, or they follow one leader and they don't try to think differently or out of the box. And then you get fusion, which has a lot of limitation. On the other hand, when there is a lot of absence of trust, there's a lot of negative argumentation, let's say, you go to fragmentation. And that also not helping to build collective intelligence. So collective intelligence is a bit walking the middle part. And in order to do that, it requires a bit of systemic awareness. And to make a bit the jump to systems, and why systems are important is because most of the key problems we face today, they require a different lens, a different way of looking at things. And the best way of representing that is with this elephant, because if you approach a big issue blindly and you only see part of it, you will never see you have an elephant in front of you. Some person will say it's a wall, it's a rope, it's a snake, it's a spear. So they don't really see it's a wicked problem, and they think they're just optimizing one specific problem. And for that, you need a bit awareness of systems. And I talked a lot about systems. And a system is, the definition is, it's a unit consisting of connected parts. And these parts can be people or the functions they have. And as an exercise, and we go back to the top part, and I'll guide you along the way, is here on the system part. I'll bring you back. So what are some examples of main systems around you, around us? And the main system we all belong to, of course, is our family. That has a big impact on us, our friends. But I just invite you to take a Post-it, and you can take that on the left side here on the toolbar, and then you create a Post-it. I'll create also a couple for you if that's easier, and just take a couple of Post-its, or you can unmute yourself and speak up and share a couple of systems that you feel around us. I'll give you a minute to do that. So indeed, I see some living systems like the community, but I also see non-living systems like weather and climate. Indeed, it's also a system. It's an interconnected thing, like the planets. It's also a system, our human body. So I see a lot of non-living ones, let's say. So I invite you to think a bit about living ones. So what are living systems? Society, yeah. Correct. The community. Educational system, yeah. Part of the education are the people in it, of course, but it could also be the buildings. So it's a bit a mix. Teams. Correct. Soccer team, football, yes. So as you see, systems are all around us, and we are confronted with it on a daily basis, but yet a lot of times we don't use a bit our systemic awareness to approach things, to think about things, to assess things, to look at the relationships, about the connectivity between things. And that's, again, an invitation to us today. So thanks again for filling in this exercise. I know we have not talked yet besides me. That's coming a bit later, but since it's only an hour, I'm going to do a couple of more silent exercises, but later on we'll have a breakout in smaller groups where you can share a bit your thoughts, your insights, and that's coming a bit in a second. Okay, so going back to my presentation, I'm not forgetting to zoom in again like I did the last time. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, indeed, because we talked a lot about systems in the beginning, we didn't mention a lot of living systems, but that's where I want to focus on a bit more. And sorry if the resolution is not super duper with the Miro here, but what I want to say is that collective potentials are built off out of many individual potentials. But if you look at communities, if you look at organizations, if you look at companies, the way we design our organization, the way we create a culture, that specific thing, the design itself, will either make or break the creation of collective potentials. Like Edwards Deming said, a bad system will beat a good person every time. And also the whole will never become performing by developing the parts, because that's also what you see a lot of times in community. Maybe there's one leader and the rest follows. We don't really open up the discussion. We don't do a lot of co-creation. We don't listen to everybody, or we don't do joint exercises. And then we never can really develop the whole, because we only are focusing on specific parts. And why am I talking about this, and how can we nurture this? How can we nurture this collective intelligence, yeah, as I said, the collective potential? It's by tapping into our systemic brain. And this is where I want to focus on for the remainder of the session, is next to our analytical brain, which is fantastic. Let's also see how can we leverage our systemic brain. And this, yeah, these definitions come actually from a Dutch, yeah, systemic coach, and this really helps people to grab the essence of systemic thinking by thinking of a systemic brain. Because on one hand, as I said before, an analytical brain is more about examining facts, data, and plans. You zoom in. If you have a problem, you grab it and you want to solve it. And as a result, you get a solved problem and you create a certain direction. But whether that direction is a wanted direction, that's to be discussed. However, when you come in touch with these complex challenges, which are more an artifact, a symptom of something deeper than something by itself, you need to create, or you need to use the systemic brain. And for that, I invite you to examine interactions. You zoom out. If you see a problem in front of you, you can look at it as a symptom, as a source of information. Because as another quote says, often a problem does not want to be fixed, rather it wants to be understood. And by doing that, by zooming out, by looking at the whole, we clearly see more the interactions between different parts. We see where the whole is working towards, like we did in our introduction exercise. And then the solved problem will become a consequence. So that as a result, you get movement, but movement does not mean in a certain direction. And it can be a surprising movement, like the exercise we did. We saw suddenly that yeah, this arrow was created, or people came on the line between that's what's holding us back and where we want to go. But this is how the system can reveal things to you. And that's only done by a systemic brain. Now, one watch out is that a systemic brain is not an action-oriented brain. So for making progress, you need to tap back into the analytical brain. So it's not one or the other, but it's combining these two. And I just want to pause here when I talk about these two, two aspects, these two features: analytical brain, a systemic brain. Does that make sense? Any questions in the chat so far around that? Happy to discuss, or you unmute yourself and share a question or a comment. If not, we just continue on our progress of the session. Okay. Cool. So adaptive challenges. So why do we need a systemic brain? And my analytical brain is fine, fantastic, I agree, but the systemic brain can really help us out in some occasions. And another way of looking at things, I think that the basis is identical, what was shared with Ronald Heifetz when he talked about adaptive challenges. Because in his mindset, the single biggest failure of leadership is to treat adaptive challenges like technical problems. So let's first see what an adaptive challenge is versus a technical problem. And I think we all have experienced this before in our working environment, maybe in a family environment, when we try to fix one thing and maybe it's fixed for a week or two, and then suddenly something similar pops up somewhere else and we fix that and another one pops up, etc. And that means that, yeah, we're treating something, but not in the right way. And an adaptive challenge is very similar to a wicked problem we saw before. It's difficult to identify. There's many ins and outs to it. The people that are related are faced with the problem. They need to solve it because they're the only one really sensing how deep it can go. Because on the other hand, a technical problem is something very isolated, something easy to identify. It has certain boundaries. It can often be solved by an authority or an expert, which an adaptive challenge cannot be done. It needs to be solved from within. And often what you also see with technical problems, if the expert comes in and he or she shares a solution, then we are generally quite receptive to a technical solution, to that solution. Whilst on the other hand, people feel resistance if we see a solution for an adaptive challenge, because there the cost of change comes into play, and we like things as they are. So there are certain patterns. So we will miss a couple of things if we move forward. So this is a bit adaptive challenges versus technical problems. And I hope it resonates with you. It's clear, because we're going back now to another quick joint exercise. And this is about technical problems and adaptive challenges. So I would like all of you to in a minimum way, put one technical problem on the board and one adaptive challenge. And with the next exercise in mind, take one that's dear to your heart, something that's affecting you at this moment. So something maybe in a work environment, in a personal environment. You don't need to disclose too much personal information if not wanted, that's all fine. But to make most out of the next exercise, which is a breakout session, try to put one technical problem or a couple of ones that you come across on a daily basis, but also one adaptive challenge, one thing that's been bugging you, that's a bit getting under your skin, that irritates you maybe, and you try different things, but you don't really see the ins and the outs of it. So try to also put one adaptive challenge on the board. I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. And since Myro has some nice music, I'll put that there as well. So I'll give you some time to put that on the board. So indeed, I forgot to mention some of the examples here, but the technical problem, I think it's very clear. Yeah, the lawnmower doesn't start. You need to fix it. We need to introduce a new guideline. As of now, we drive on the right side, not anymore on the left side. I need to sort out an apartment we just moved in. So these are all very technical problems. Yeah. My vacuum cleaner didn't start again. Is it an issue with the plug, or is it an issue with the motor? A server breaks down. I think it's very clear on the technical problems, but let's zoom in on the adaptive challenges. So still 1 minute. And try to put one, or at least if Myro is not collaborating with you, try to have one in mind for the next session. for the next exercise. Okay, climate change, yes. Constantly maintaining my health, yeah. That has many factors into play. How do we get improved health and educational outcomes around a large area? A relationship, yeah, okay, but try to think here, what's your personal connect with relationships or food system? Something where you can have an impact, or where you feel a bit impacted. Sudden team expenses, yes. All right, time is up. Okay, so I think there's some great adaptive challenges here. So I think you really understand the drift. So great on this side. So what we're going to do next, and I'll go back to my slides without closing the screen, but I did it. Okay. Okay. Oops, here we go. Again. So what we're going to do next now is a breakout. And in this breakout, we're going to talk a bit our adaptive challenge. And I'm going to zoom in again for the legibility. And as it is with adaptive challenges, I invite you to a bit sense what's around you. And maybe these questions don't really hit with the context you provide, like with poverty or a weight program. But I think you can feel the drift. So what does the surrounding system want from you? What do you want from the system? These are things to think about. And most often we only think about what does the system want from me? What do I want from the system? But you can also think about the relationship itself as an entity. So what do you want for the team, for the organization? What do you want for the relationship? So these are a couple of questions I give to you for the upcoming breakout. And then other moving questions you can think about and you can discuss are these following questions. And these following questions are a bit built to bring you more into that systemic awareness, to leverage the systemic brain rather than using the analytical brain, because these questions are more focused on looking at the bigger whole, what's connected with what was before this, what came first, what came second, what came last, where are you now, what are you connected to, what remains out of sight, what's being left unsaid. And then to wrap it up, as I said before, is who or what can initiate the first move. That's a bit more direction oriented, that's more analytical, but that's last question is there to capture all your information that you have gathered and then translate that into an action so you can move on and build on that and progress. So these are a couple of questions, and I've put them also in the next frame. So the adaptive challenge with the breakout. And what we're going to do next now is a 15-minute breakout. And we go in groups of 3. And everyone, let's take 5 minutes to discuss every one of your topics. And you can look at the questions here. You can look at the Miro board and say, hey, where is the pressure? How old is this? Has it always been there? Where do you stand yourself? So these questions can help you a bit to navigate and discuss about your adaptive challenge. So you share that with your other 2 partners. And then after 5 minutes, we go to the next one. Is that clear? Okay. So we go now in breakouts of 3. And we discuss internally our respective adaptive challenges, and then we come back in 15 minutes from now. So Marissa and Anna are helping out with the breakout room.
Wesley, so just to be clear, we're going into breakout rooms to discuss our own adaptive challenge based on these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And we can, it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. And I think every 5 minutes we can give a reminder, so we can switch to the next adaptive challenge of your group. But if you want to take them all on at the same time, be my guest. Feel free how you use the 15 minutes, and we guide it softly. Is that clear, Marissa?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Are people going? Yes.
Yeah, I see people going. Okay. You want me to join a certain?
No, that's not necessary.
Yeah, it's a bit juggling now, I see, with some rooms.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure every room has somebody in it. So
yeah.
7 has nobody.
I'll let you do the juggling.
In the room. Okay, we can go to room 2.
Shall I join room 3 or?
You can. I can't see. Okay, sorry, I couldn't see you there. Yeah, sure. If you want to move there, you can move yourself there. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi Ben, I can see you're not joining a room. Is that intentional, or are you just not seeing the join?
I joined room number 1, but there was someone and he left.
Oh, okay. Let me put you in a room with other people. Otherwise it's not really. Does that work?
But I just joined and I don't know about what you are doing.
Okay, everyone can help. There's a series of questions that just for you to discuss with the rest of the people in the room based on a challenge that you have, and you can answer some of the questions just to share with other people. It's
no, okay.
And Baz, sorry, I see Baz, you're not. Oh, is this room 3? Am I in room 3? I don't even know what room I'm in. I'm not even there. So can you see the board? Perhaps we can have a discussion here as well. Do you want me to share my screen? Ben and Baz, perhaps you would like to. Okay. Can you see these questions?
Yes. What does the team?
Yeah. So perhaps you can share a little bit about maybe if you have a particular challenge that that is close to you at the moment or that you're working on, or maybe Baz, you can also do that if you wish to join in the conversation.
Suppose that you have a client in mental health or in life coaching. Could you consider a team, you and your client?
Is your client like a group, an organization of people working in mental health?
No, just an individual person.
Okay. So the first question is, what does your team or organization want from you? So what does the client want from you? Maybe is a good way to yes. Ask the question.
Now there is a paradox. Sometimes the client isn't really clear about what he wants from you. So you have to work hard to clarify this this first question. What the client really wants from you.
Yeah.
But what do you want for the client? Sometimes you have mixed ideas. You want the client to resolve his issue fast. You want the client to thrive, to be independent from the sessions you are giving him. Sometimes behind the client there is a family, and sometimes what's the family wants you to do to the client is different to what the client wants to do for him. The expectations of the family, of the client's family, is different from the client's expectations. So
that's a good example of where there's a bigger system. This client is part of a bigger system, which is their family, and perhaps that's something that's, as Wesley says, that kind of influences what's happening there.
Sorry, I didn't understand you.
You're saying that what you want for the client is difficult because there's also a family, and what the family wants versus what the client wants is not necessarily the same thing. So I was saying that in your example, it seems like the family is the system of which the client is part of, and that's, as Wesley said, something that influences. You know, if it's a whole system versus an individual, it's often a lot harder as well, right? That kind of influence.
Yes, right.
And then so, you want for the client or the team or the organization.
Here, something I think I must do is to make what we call this negotiation between what the family wants and what the client wants. Let them be aware of both of their objectives, and then try to come to some minimum objectives which may be both beneficial for the clients and for the family.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just having a message. Yeah, I guess, yeah, and understanding that the needs are greater than individual, I mean, there's the client needs, and then there's the family needs. And so that negotiation that you're talking about is becoming aware of the needs of all parties rather than just one. Baz, do you have anything to share with us? We should be moving on to the other questions actually, but do you have anything to share, Baz, or is there anything that you wanted to talk about? Okay. Moving questions. Where is the pressure? How old is this? And has it always been there? Or where do you stand yourself? What are you connected to? What remains out of sight? And what is being left unsaid? Or who or what can initiate the first move? You could answer any of those questions then. Do you have any of those questions that you'd like to answer?
Yes, here there is a pressure of time. Sometimes the clients want to, the issues are old in time, but the client, when he came with some expectations that he will resolve his issues in very fast. And
there are lifelong problems, I imagine. They want to solve the lifelong problems in a very short space of time.
Yeah. And also the family has this question of time. They tell you that we are not going to wait for a long time to resolve this issue, because life happens, because we have some other issues. So you have to be very effective in your intervention. And sometimes they see, sometimes the clients might tell you that if after only one session you are fired or hired.
Let's see. So I think some interesting questions you could think about is like what remains out of sight, because you're talking to your client, but there's obviously the family who's involved as well. Hi, Wesley, you're back. We've probably got about 30 seconds left, and then I'll close the breakout rooms.
Great.
And then we can regroup for the last 10 minutes.
Great. Yeah, my MacBook, the touchpad is so sensitive, because if you swipe too much with 2 fingers, then you always close this session. Do you have the same thing? Yeah, I need to, if I use the hand, it's better. But
okay, I'm gonna close the breakout rooms now, so I hope everyone come back.
So I'll share my screen again.
Yeah, if you want to, I can share mine if it's clearer. It's up to you, but I don't know how many, like, yeah, up to you.
No, it's just wrapping up. So okay.
Maybe just make sure it's zoomed in and
yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question in the meantime.
Yeah, Johanni, go ahead.
Thanks. Do you recommend a particular book around this topic that we can review later on?
Yeah, there's a couple. If it's specifically related to like the system thinking, the systemic brain, and the analytical brain, or is it more related to system thinking in general?
Well, rather more about adaptive challenges.
Yeah, I think, the gentleman that I referred to, he has written a book about that, about adaptive leadership. So you can have a look at that.
All right, I think I missed that one.
Yeah. So if you go, yeah. So the question was, could you read a bit more? I think like Ronald Heifetz, I think he written a book about adaptive challenges. So this is where this comes from, like technical problems versus adaptive challenges. And then the issue is, of course, we mistakenly see challenges for problems, and then we have the wrong approach, and then we miss a lot of information, and then we only solve one part or we solve the wrong part. So that's typically how it goes.
Okay, yeah, good.
Okay.
Good. Actually, I have that book, so I just wanted to know if there is any additional one. But yeah, I appreciate it very much. I have actually accessed it, and there is a lot of insightful information there. Good. Thank you.
I think, Marissa, on the network, is there information for more books around this topic? Do we have information on the network somewhere?
There must be. I'm still learning. I think if you go onto the Systems Innovation .network or systeminnovation.io, we'll put those links in the chat. There's a whole variety of information. There are books, there's papers, there's articles. There's a lot of stuff around all of this. Maybe less on the leadership aspect. So if it's specifically about the leadership, maybe Wesley's the best person for us.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll put a couple in the comment after the workshop on the network, because now my brain is a bit empty. I cannot come with a couple of titles at the moment. Okay. Thanks all for sticking around for the full session. Thanks for that. I hope the breakouts were insightful. So we're coming now to the end of the session. I just wanted to hear from you any insights or surprising things, new learnings, comments you have from your breakout session that you want to share. So feel free to unmute yourself and share with the larger team. Happy to debrief that for a couple of minutes.
I'm just going to check if everyone's out, because I closed the rooms, but it seems like a lot of people are still there. So I'm just closing all the rooms for now.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Any comments or questions?
I think, hi, I'm Charlene. I think Anna, mentioned something that was really interesting when we were talking about systems and adaptive systems. I mentioned, using the back door to get, something done. And Anna's like, how do we define a back door? And like, what is that, in an adaptive system? And now I'm thinking, I'm like, is there such a thing as a back door, or is it just another door to enter? And why do we call it a back door? So that was just really interesting and opened up a whole bunch of questions. So thank you, Anna.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Back door, yeah. Or is it a door? Yeah. A lot of thoughts come to mind, but any other comments or questions?
Hi Wesley, it's Simon here.
Hi, Simon.
When I was talking with Kirsten, we're looking at these, like, what do you want from the team or the organization? I think one of the important things here is like sort of the psychological contract. When you go into a business, when you go into with a new client, and you have your employment contract, you have your contract with the client, but you also have anticipations of what they're going to provide to you, how they're going to support you, and vice versa. And that sort of leads on to the moving questions. This is like where the pressure sometimes arises within a business, because that contract is broken in your own perception. That's when the pressure arises. It can build up. And where do you stand yourself? It's this is really hidden, and it can finally lead to breaking down the relationship, and you either resigning or saying to the client, "That's it. I can't work for you anymore."
Yeah.
So I think that's a major factor in all sort of human relationships. We all have psychological contracts with our partners, with our kids, with our parents, but especially in business.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Because if you look at systems, what we have not discussed about today is like a couple of key forces that play, and one of them is belonging. Because as an individual, you always want to belong to a system because you have your own consciousness, but there's also the system consciousness. You have then a certain role to play. And I think what you mentioned is especially on this front, like the belonging aspect. What role do I play? Am I respected? Do I get enough in return for what I bring? And these are crucial, fundamental forces in systems that we analyze as system coaches to see where are things going wrong, where are things creating stress and distrust. So thanks for sharing. Anyone else wants to share an observation or? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Fabienne. I hear you.
Yeah. Hi. I'm good, thank you. How are you? There's something that the two things I'm taking from my two co-mates in the breakout room. Bob mentioned something, and he might want to comment something about it, but it struck me in case of a tough problem or a complicated problem, complex problem. Walk shoulder to shoulder rather than face to face. So go for a walk and talk about it. And I thought that was, for me, that's something that will stay in my mind. Thank you, Bob. And then Angel, we talked about several things, but in the context of COVID, he mentioned censorship. And I think that's something that's quite systemic and that's been around for a long time. And that's two things that I'm taking out from this time in the breakout room. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks for sharing. I like the shoulder to shoulder part. It's like looking at the whole, not trying to force a direction, but see what can be moved, what can be get unstuck. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Nice one.
And just to add to what was just mentioned there, I've put in the chat a TED talk by a gentleman, William Ury, where he talks about that generally when you have difficult situations, it's a confrontation, it's front to front. But if you can change that environment and change that perspective, because I think it goes to what, I'm not sure who was making the comment before, around the pressures that are there that quite readily senior people in the organisations that we're part of, they want a quick fix, they want a solution, they want the problem to be gone, and they reward people who come up with short-term quick fixes, which makes things go away rather than long-term solutions.
Yeah, great. And I really like also the way you say head to head, or you sit side by side, and that's often what I've been taught also as a coach, because you can sit face to face, but then you block a lot of opportunity. If you sit side by side, you look with both to the open space, and that gives a lot more opportunity. So I think it's a very powerful physical thing, which we often forget. Now it's a bit more difficult, we're all virtually, but in a physical room, how you position yourself, it can have a big impact on the outcome of that interaction. Yeah? Thank you. Okay, respecting the time, an hour goes by very, very fast. There's one more request from yours to your side on the retro. It's a very simple retro. So it's the first time we do a bit of these systemic awareness sessions. So from our side, we wanted to hear from you. How was it? What were some things that you liked? Maybe some things you learned, some things you want to put in practice, like things you took away. And then the bottom right side, the longed for, what was missing? Or maybe there was something too much. Maybe I spoke too much and others not. That's a possibility. So feel free to give your comment and your feedback, and we will happily accept that. And with that, unless there's any other questions, I'll give you 2 minutes to fill it in. Then we can go towards the closing. Any more comments? You can also share it verbally. Just unmute yourself. And don't shy away from what you longed for, because then we can improve. It's the first one of these shorter system awareness sessions.
I have a question, Wesley. At the start of the session, you mentioned something around kind of using your body.
Yeah.
Can you just share more, like a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
In systemic awareness.
Yeah. it's like the analytical brain. It's a lot in the head that speaks for itself, but there is a lot of consciousness in our body as well, and often we have unlearned to listen to it, and especially in system work, where the system also speaks to you. It will speak to you via your body. It sounds a bit abstract, but often the things we discussed now and the question we shared now, like where's the pressure, what remains out of sight, what's being left unsaid, often these things, the answer will come to you as your intuition. That's a bit a tool, I think, which we not use enough of it. And also the first exercise was a bit a very short showcase of that. Like, we all come together as a group, we ask questions, we see the group dynamics, and then a question I can ask is, if you now stand in the position of somebody else, how do you experience that? And then you need to listen to your body. Do you feel at ease? Do you feel awkward? And that's the things you need to then observe. I forget to lock the retro. I always forget to lock one thing on the Miro board. So let me try to do that. Okay, still works. So I'm not going to intervene. Did that answer your question, Marissa?
Yeah, thanks. I would love to hear more about that, maybe another session.
Sure.
I think it's a really, as you said, an important aspect that's often overlooked and conditioned out of us. I can't remember what the practice is, but there's a thing that says like the body never lies, and there are things you can ask questions around certain topics where people may adamantly deny or kind of ignore certain things, but if you kind of test the body in a certain way, it becomes very clear that there's like resistance, or that there's a different force at play, or a different kind of intelligence at play. So I think, like you said, it's hard to do this in a virtual setting, but it'd be good to hear more about that.
Indeed. Yeah, and then you can do anchors like, go ahead.
Sorry, but when you talked about the body, I could relate to that in mental health field. In trauma, they talked about how the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
So, I think, could we talk here about system trauma?
I think it could be a topic for sessions to come. I don't think I'm the key expert here, but I know some people that are really experts on that, and happy to put them on the stage. I think it's a good proposal. I've been.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. It'd be really good if you wanted to run a session or share more, or bring in people that you know who can. Then I think it is a very interesting and meaningful topic we could explore.
Yeah. Because I also know a therapist, and he does a bit coaching exercise, and then see, okay, we talk about the trauma, so where in your body do you feel now a bit of blockage, and then he will only focus on blocking the physical blockage, and by that often it also helps on the traumatic experience. So indeed it's very true. But as said, I'm not the expert there, so I'm not going to make any bold statements here on that.
It's also a bit like with traditional Chinese medicine, right? It's so it appears indirect. You know, people think, oh, it doesn't work, or it might not be effective, but actually it's very much based on this idea of the body as a system, and the meridian lines and things like that. I'm also not an expert, but I believe I was once a skeptic, has been kind of converted as well.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Just quickly looking. Yeah, maybe I covered. Thanks for all the input so far. I see it's 6:06, so I'm going to close the session, if that's okay for all of you. I said, yeah, we'll be here on a monthly or on a periodic basis. We're going to do like small 1 hour learning sessions. Some of them more oriented around personal development, around system awareness, which is more like this. Other ones will be more around one specific canvas in the context of system innovation and system mapping. And then the other thing, what we like to do with the Singapore group is to do extended series. Like we first invite a couple of experts to talk about a specific systemic topic, and then we do 2 interactive sessions on it. And that's also quite appreciated by a lot of our members, because they can go then over a period of time extensively on one topic. So that's things which will come in the future. We'll happily invite you for that. And with this, I thank you all. I wish you a great day ahead and hope to see you soon in